That's why there's some oil on it. Hey guys, and welcome to part 3 of the Beatty Windmill restoration. So I've moved this over to the front of the garage here where I got a bit more room, and we're going to start tearing into this. So first off, since the last video there in part 2, I showed you how the oiler spring and everything worked in here, how everything turned and stuff, and tried to explain it the best I could. So now for this part, we're going to have to drain the oil because I put the oil in there so I could demonstrate the spring and get everything bathed in oil again. And now we'll have to drain it out. But yeah, for now we're going to start off at some point with these spokes. But yeah, I've already started on the furling mechanism right here. This stuff is really seized in. This pin's actually not supposed to come out with it. It's supposed to swivel on there, and this is supposed to stay fastened, but it actually broke the pin when I pulled it out. But that's alright, it didn't damage any of the casings, so that's what I wanted. So that's one part of the mechanism there. This is a piece off of the vane, or that's supposed to be attached to the piece that's on the tail. That's broken. That's for when it's coming in and out. It's got the spring stoppers on it, which are a little bit bent, you can see. And finally, the piece that your line attaches to down below, and you pull this to bring your mill in and out. And yeah, so first off, we're going to start with draining the oil, and like I said, we'll get to yanking all these parts apart, and we'll go from there and get everything painted up and taken apart. Here we go. Alright, so to drain the oil in this thing, Beatty really had it figured out. I had the drain plug in right here, so I already went ahead and cracked it, but it's just a 9/16 plug. Same as a bolt plug that we still use today in my jobs. So pull the. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Beatty Windmill restoration part 3. It's been about 6 months now since part 1, when I first ripped out the windmill out of the shed there with my grandpa. If you haven't seen it, check out the video. I'll put a link up in the top corner here. So a lot has went on. Our garage was full and we had to do a lot of work. I got sidetracked on other things over the winter, snowmobiling and doing all kinds of stuff. But now at nights I like to have something to put away at, and my ideal goal was to pull this thing apart and get the bearings done in it. They're fine as far as I can tell, but I want to pull it apart because once it's up in the air 30 feet, you don't want to have bearing trouble. So what's really been kind of stumping me that it's been 6 months to pull us apart is if I should paint it or leave it original or not. I think I've made the decision that I'm going to paint it. For sure the gearbox, have to see about the sails and everything after, but for sure the gearbox and the hub and everything are going to get painted green again. I want it to leave it original, but at the same time they look so nice up in the air, nice and cleaned up, paint it, and by painting it, it's going to preserve it for hopefully another 100 years. That galvanizing, estimated that it's about 90 years old now. This mill pretty close to 90 years old. The galvanizing's really started to wear off, and it's not going to prevent rust for another 100 years. So I'd like to have this seen in the next generation after I'm dead and gone. I'd like it still to be preserved. So that's why I'm thinking about painting it. Anyways, when I last left off, I don't think I had it on a stand or anything. So I think, or actually I had it on the stand. I showed you guys how it worked and everything. So in the meantime, I've taken some of the pull-out lever and stuff. I've taken some of that stuff off, nothing major. There was just a bunch of parts seized on there, like just the levers and stuff. I was able to get it all apart with minimal heat, so that was good. I was just kind of leery about heating stuff up too much. So the one, I guess, I forget what you call this piece anyways, it attaches to the tail, and this is what goes back and forth to cushion your tail when it comes in and out. And anyways, that's broken. The other half of that is not with us right now. Anyways, that needs, it's a big piece. I've opted, I actually found one from a guy named Harvey, so he's gonna actually get me a new one of those. And thankfully, the pin that goes through the mill, I've seen that these apparently will wear in the mill and make these wormholes. Thankfully the pin wore on this one, so I'll just have to get a new pin, and the actual gearbox is fine, so we don't have to do any work to that. So, well, I'm gonna get a new one of these from Harvey. We're gonna get that all back in one piece and get it together when the time comes. No rush for that. I've got it reserved at Harvey's now. Got a whole thing of windmill bolts that my grandpa found in his shop. It's all from the tower, so they're all the original bolts and nuts from the tower. The cam bolts, everything is pretty cool for the wire, for the bar, for the twisted wire that goes on it. All that stuff is there, so kind of cool to have all that. All these pieces will be pretty handy to have to put that tower back together, because it's in pretty good shape, the tower. I'm planning on using the original tower that it was on. So anyways, we're just gonna dive into this thing and start tearing it apart and see how it goes. I really am not sure how to pull everything apart. I've seen online there on Peter's Windmill's site that on his mill he has like an access cover here to pull everything apart, and his mill is a later one. I was told by some of the experts that this one was an earlier model. There's no tag on it marking Timken bearings or anything on it. No patent dates on it or anything. There's just a simple FB1 on it. So since it, like I talked about in my other videos, that there's the oiler spring on here that determines that it's an early model, and that the tail has Beatty Canada on it rather than Beatty pumper. So I'm thinking that this thing was made in the very early 1930s. Anyways, we're gonna start pulling some pins apart and everything, and see, start laying out some parts. And I'm not gonna paint anything inside. I just want to get them all cleaned up, get all the grit off of them, because it sat for so many years. Get some fresh bearings in there, make sure the seals are okay, and yeah, it's gonna be a fun process. Alright, so I just set up a bench for all my parts that are gonna come off of here, and I just turned this, I guess, refer to it as a motor, we'll call this top dead center, and then I can get at the bottom here at the crank arm here. And so yeah, we're gonna start by taking off these connecting rods. I labeled this one here with a B on it, another one with an F. This is like the back of the gearbox, the other side we'll call the front. And I just thought I'd do that just for wear characteristics, put them back where they came from. But all this stuff has to come out in order to get in there to replace bearings. So we're gonna take it all out, clean it all up, and then we'll get to painting this thing when it's all pulled apart. And I gotta free up the brake mechanism in the hub there. It's seized in there and not working, or it's dragging a bit. Still turns really good, as you can see before. But yeah, we'll just I'm just gonna put it on a time lapse here of me tearing this apart. It's pretty simple, so we'll tear it apart and show you guys what it looks like once I get all these parts laid out. Alright guys, so we're starting to get everything pretty well out. I gotta get this crank out in the gears. So what's interesting is these stubs that stick up, your guides for your wheel there. This actually tightens down and holds, I guess it looks kind of like your bearing there. This piece, not your bearing, but it holds the main thing in. This is almost like a deer foot here. It tightens against, it sits like that, and it tightens against to hold your crank in there. So that's pretty cool design actually. You just gotta crack this lock nut loose, and then you tighten it back until it bottoms out on the threads, and then you just crank on it with your wrench and it'll bring this whole thing out. So yeah, we're pretty much able to grab this crank now and pull her out. We'll do that right now while we're on video. There we are. Crank's out of there. Perfect. Alright, so I got the nut off the end of this main shaft here. We're just going to pull it out. There's two set screws that were Allen keys on it. It really surprised me that there was Allen keys on this thing. I guess I never really thought about it, but it's pretty advanced, the set screw and stuff, I thought, for back in the early 30s. But we're just about out here. Just going to pull her out. There we are. Alright guys, so we got the gearbox off there too. You've seen me pull off the spokes there and the hub and everything right here. That all looks in good condition. As you can see, this mill was laying flat like this, and it's full of dirt in here and stuff, so hopefully it didn't rot it out too bad. Everything else, like these bearings, I'm told this mill was never taken apart because my grandpa knew the farm that it was on and knew the people that had it. So anyways, these bearings really don't have much play in them from wear at all. They're not gritty. I'd say this mill was well taken care of. I don't know if they really are something that go bad, but they really look really well. That's all in good shape. The gearbox came off. It all looks good. See how much knickknacks and stuff I can find in there. I imagine there's quite a bit of stuff, but this old non-detergent oil, man, there is sludge everywhere. It's thick, so it's going to take a lot of cleaning, but we're going to pull it all apart here, get this brake mechanism all cleaned up, and get it all stripped down, and I'm going to put a fresh coat of green. You can see the green on it. I'm going to repaint that green. All of our parts here, everything's looking good. I just gave this a shot of brake cleaner up here. There's just ball bearings in here. I pulled the balls out. They're just sitting on the bench right now, but they're sitting in there. I'm gonna have to ask a few questions to some guys about this stuff, guys that have done it before. But yeah, like, it's kind of pitted in there, not bad. I mean, it's just a turntable. What you can see, like right in here, where it's divoted a bit, where it looks like those balls have probably sat in one place and then the top's kind of rolled on it. Those bearings might not have even been moving. But yeah, it looks like this stub, if you look at it, it's on a little bit of a crick there, not too bad. Just kind of how it's wore. Anyways, it's wore in here pretty good. I was told that sometimes you have to weld these up. I'm going to see how bad they have to be, because it's in a bit, but not terrible. But anyways, yeah, it really cleaned up well there. I just gave it a quick shot, and I'm just going to get some opinions to see if I have to get that fixed. I don't have the proper tools here to weld it, and I wouldn't trust myself to do this. I have the ability to weld, but not that well. So I would get somebody to weld this up for me and get it proper again. But I'll see if I'm even going to bother doing it for the amount of wear. It's not like it's wearing through or anything. It's just gonna be off a little bit on how it turns. Might not turn that efficient, but for all the work it takes of having to replace this, or to fix it, I'm not gonna go to all the trouble of fixing it and money to fix it if I'm not gonna be using it every day to pump water anyways. So yeah, otherwise, next off, you're gonna see us. We're gonna be getting all these parts here. This stuff isn't gonna be bad to clean up. A little bit of brake clean on these and stuff, and they'll be set off to the side. Again, these bearings here, your crank bearings, they all looked really good, and they're just like brand new. I almost hate to put new bearings in it because these things are just good old Timken bearings that are not worn after 90 years, which is really cool that they're not worn. But I can still read the part number off of them, and I'm gonna make sure that these made in USA or Canada bearings go back in it. There's nothing Chinese or imported gonna go back on this mill. If those things have lasted that long, I hope that the Timkens will last like that again. But yeah, if it was worst case scenario, I would put those bearings back in a heartbeat. They're fine. So yeah, we'll get back with you guys. It's about 10 o'clock at night right now, so you'll see me starting to clean everything up. And the gearbox, I don't know how I'm going to clean that. I don't have a parts cleaner here, so that might come with me somewhere to get cleaned up good. And then I'm going to just talk to the local paint store and get them to mix me up. I might even take a chip of some of the green that's on this Beatty mill yet and bring it in and see how close they can match it up for me. I'm planning on just brushing it on, and then it'll be nice and thick and last a long time rather than spraying, because you're not going to see it up in the air anyways, your brush strokes. So I think that's about everything for part 3. I'm going to make this just a disassembly video, and then the next one will be when we start to work on it and cleaning stuff up, painting stuff, and then there will be an assembly video and so on. We'll see how it all works out, but just to keep these videos short, I'm going to make this then for part 3, and for part 4 we'll get to cleaning it up and painting stuff. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and stay tuned for part 4. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and please give the channel a like and a subscribe. If my videos interest you, please click on my channel and check out my other videos.